today we are going to be focusing on the executive branch of government and the presidency, the role, power, and the overall job description of the president. To get a general view of the executive branch of government, let's take a snapshot. It includes the president, the vice president, and the presidential cabinet. The overall tasks include approving bills, vetoing bills, directing the military, making foreign policy, and enforcing the laws. On top of those powers, the executive branch also has the checking powers, where it can check the other two branches. The executive branch can check the legislative branch in a variety of ways. They can check the legislative branch by proposing laws. They can even veto laws. They can call special sessions of Congress. They can make appointments and negotiate foreign treaties. Now, the executive branch also has the ability to check the judicial branch by appointing federal judges, and they can also grant pardons to federal offenders.
Bigger, better, stronger, power. I got that power.
Now that we have a broad overview of what the executive branch and presidency does and who they are, let's take a look at what does it take to become president. There's some qualifications that you have to meet in order to be qualified as a candidate for the presidency. Let's take a look. According to the Constitution, in order to qualify as a presidential candidate, you must be a natural-born citizen, meaning born is a resident of the United States. You must be at least 35 years old, and you must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. So that's the bottom line qualifications on paper. If elected to the presidency, you have a 4-year term, meaning you keep that position for 4 years. The framers felt that this was long enough for someone to gain experience, demonstrate abilities, and to establish some stable policies. But we want to make sure that you can't rule forever. So, in 1951, the 22nd Amendment was created to limit the presidential terms as part of the Constitution. So, by 1951, the presidency was limited to two terms. Basically meaning 8 years.
3, 2, hi America.
Once elected, you don't have much time to get done all of the duties of a president. So simultaneously, the president is in charge of doing quite a few things. The president acts as chief of state, which is the symbol of all of the people of the nation, literally the representative for everyone in the United States. When acting as chief executive, the president is enforcing the laws of the United States by either signing them into action or vetoing them. A huge duty and role of the president is chief administrator, where he directs the federal government and indicates what direction we need to go. As chief diplomat, the president is the nation's foreign policy spokesperson, responsible for making relationships, treaties, and alliances with nations around the world. It's a big impact on international affairs if the president sees it serves the U.S. to either form or to avoid an alliance with another nation. As commander-in-chief, the president leads the nation's armed forces and can utilize them as needed. As chief legislator, the president is the creator of public policy and is capable of influencing congressional legislation. That's right, the president himself or herself can propose legislation for Congress to consider. The president also serves as chief of party, meaning they are the leader and the head of the political party that he or she represents. And of course, there's the role of chief citizen. If the president is leading a nation, they must make sure that they are the representative of the people, working for the public interest, and appearing so in public as well. Back at the chief diplomat role, we have to look a little further about the presidency and foreign policy. The president is predominantly responsible for determining the U.S. foreign policy on a variety of topics, including diplomacy, which is the process of nations coming together to find peaceful solutions. The president has final responsible say on humanitarian aid, military aid, and economic aid to other nations, as well as our own. President has a say in the treaties, sanctions, or military interventions between other nations as well. Lots of responsibility here.
Work, 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 work. You see me heavy work, 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 work. You see me.
With as many duties and roles that are required of the president, many wonder, does the president have help? As a matter of fact, they do. The president has something called the Presidential Cabinet, which is an official advisory group that head up different executive departments. The president is able to appoint the members to his or her cabinet, and those appointments are confirmed by the Senate. These cabinets range from Department of Education, Department of Defense, Department of Labor, and so on. These variety of cabinet leaders, they become experts on this area, and they advise the president on what's happening, what may happen in the future, and pros and cons to different decisions that can be made on the topic. We cannot forget about the vice president as well. That's right, the right hand of the president. The vice president presides over the Senate, but they also help decide the question of presidential disability. Should something happen to the president and the vice president need to step in to continue running the country successfully? So the vice president always there to help as well. While it does seem as if the president has a hard job, they do have some benefits as well, starting with the presidential pay. While the pay is determined by Congress, the president receives a $400,000 a year salary with a $50,000 a year expense allowance. Other than the obvious reason, there are tons of benefits to being president as well. The president gets to live in a 132-room mansion that we like to call the White House. They have 24-hour staff on service to assist them in whatever they need or want. Pretty nice. And don't forget about that fleet of vehicles the president has access to, including an airplane, Air Force One, hello, Marine One, and their very own hideaway resort known as Camp David. Not to mention, the president has on hand 24-hour the finest available healthcare in the world.
I got rich problems. I got rich problems. I got rich problems. I got rich problems. I got rich problems.
But if you think about it, the U.S. government just wouldn't be the same without the presidency and the executive branch. Hope you enjoyed the brain food. See you soon.